Hello, this is Silas, and this is the first video to Euphoric Book Reviews. Today, I will be reviewing To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. The story begins of a portrayal of a small town and a small family. The family is the Finches, consisting of Atticus, the father, who is a lawyer in the small town that they live in, Scout, who is the daughter of Atticus, and she is the main storyteller and main character. Other characters include Jem, her brother, who is a main character also, and he enjoys football. Calpurnia, their maid, and she takes care of the house and watches the children. And Dill, Scout and Jem's friend that usually visits them during the summer. He helps them play and have fun during the summer when it's very hot. Mr. Finch, he eventually told the children that he was representing a case for a black man in the small town in Alabama, if I do mention, and it doesn't necessarily bother the children because they could really care less, but for most people around them, this causes them to shout very derogatory or even racial slurs at them. Because, he's representing a black man in the predominantly racist South at the time, because this takes place during the 40s. And so the guy that he is representing was Tom Robinson, and he was accused of raping a daughter of Mr. Ewell, who is a man who basically just lives off the land, and he's not very respected by most people. One day, the kids go to the courthouse to see their father represent Mr. Robinson versus Mr. Ewell. And during the trial, he tries to say that Tom is innocent and that it did not go the way that Mr. Ewell says. And what happened was that she was flirting with Mr. Robinson and that she tried to come on to him, but that did not go planned, and so Mr. Robinson left, and then her father found out, Mr. Ewell, and then he beat her severely. But evidence all pointed that Tom was indeed good and that he didn't actually do anything, but the jury did not decide that, and they instead sided with Mr. Ewell, sentenced him to death. After the trial, Atticus feels that he has let down not only Mr. Robinson, but even himself and his family, and kind of the town even. Jem also feels this way, and he kind of mopes around the house soon after. Mr. Ewell threatens Atticus and says that he has basically lost the respect that the town already had little of him, and so he didn't feel that that was fair, even though that he won the trial and that he's getting what he wanted, and that was to have Mr. Robinson killed. The events following after the trial get worse for both the kids and Atticus, where Mr. Ewell has threatened them, but one day while the kids are walking home from a Halloween pageant, they were jumped by somebody. Someone eventually broke up the fight. The person that broke it up, who's very large, he picks up Jem, and then he takes him home. After they get home, Mr. Tate, the town sheriff, says that the attacker who attacked them was actually Mr. Ewell. At some point during the fight, though, Mr. Ewell was killed, and so Atticus thinks that it was Jem, but Mr. Tate thinks that it was the big guy, who turns out to be Boo Radley. Boo Radley asks her to walk him home, but she declines, and instead she has him walk her home. And so when they arrive at her house, he goes up to her room and sees that Jem is fine. She lies in bed, and then she eventually goes to sleep. My feelings on this book were that it's something that can't be recreated. The way that this book is something that most books will never get. It was nominated pretty much instantly for almost every award that it could get. It's basically the equivalent of Naughty Dog's Last of Us, even, where it was just instant release, 10 out of 10 everywhere across the board. You can't go wrong with it, and that's how I feel with this book. It's so good. Vivid story of a small town, and it does it very well. I feel that you can find this anywhere for $20 or $30 or something, in hardback or even paperback. I would pick it up. I would pick it up, no doubt. You just don't want to miss out on it. It's such a good book. If you do see it, though, I would 100% pick it up, and you should, no matter what. Pick up 3 for, like, your mom, your dad, a birthday present for someone. My thoughts on this book was that it was beyond euphoric, and that if I would give this a 10 out of 10 dank PPs. I will see you guys later. Harper Lee, Kill a Mockingbird. Very good.